Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and I'm so excited to be part of Altenew's April release 2018, and I thought I'd create a card and share it with you. And I'm calling this one Gradient Thanks, and that's because I'm using this mega thanks, and I'm going to do a couple of different gradient styles. So starting with my stamping, and I am using my Misty because it's a really large stamp. It actually pretty much covers nearly the whole front of the card, and so does the word hello. They are just the most gorgeous fonts. I wanted to make a gradient in the word thanks, or ombre sort of style, so I'm using two different tones of the greys. I've got the evening grey. I'm having a moment here. It's called, yeah, evening grey, and I did actually stamp this a couple of times because it is a new stamp to me, but it did stamp out beautifully. And then what I thought is I would add the ombre, and the Misty is a really great tool for this. I wanted to add a darker sort of colour to the base of the word, so I'm coming in with the Moon Rock, and it is the large ink pad. That's where the smaller ink pads really come into their own, is you can selectively stamp so much easier. So I've just had to wipe some of that away, and I just love the way that that looks with the two different colours of grey. Alright, my second gradient for this card is using this awesome die which is called Gradient Stripes, and there's actually a background stamp released in this release as well, which is very similar and totally wonderful. I like stripes. I mean, you probably might have guessed. I do like stripes. So I've actually just die cut this cover die over my word thanks. Now I was careful when I removed it because I didn't want to lose my position of the words. I could work it out. It was just easier to keep them all in place. But I have die cut it a second time using some fun foam, and I wasn't really sure which portion I wanted to pop up, but I could have done either. But in the end I decided to actually pop up the center portions of the cover die. I just thought it might look a little bit better having that with the dimension, but I'm sure it would have looked just as fine had I done it the other way around. I use my matte medium to hold this in place, and I find that works really well even with these really thin strips of die cut. And then I'll just set that aside to dry while I stamp up my flower, which is from the new set called Strength Blooms, and this is another layering flower set from Altenew, and more of a relaxed sort of almost a watercolory style. And I'm using a classic colour combo here today, and this is I think it's one of the original Altenew combinations of inks. It's called the Red Cosmos, and the colours are Frosty Pink and the Coral Berry, one of my faves, and then the Ruby Red, and the final colour here is Grapevine. And I found these flowers quite forgiving and really easy to stamp out. Now the leaf images come from the same set, and what I thought I'd do, it was actually two-tone stamp the base leaf. So I'm stamping out the base colour with the frayed leaf, and then come in with the Forest Glades and just partially inking up the stamp to make it look like sort of a like a shadow, and that I've done that on the end of the stamp that is going to be beneath the flower. Does that make sense? And then I'll just cut these out with the coordinating dies. Now I have a side fold landscape card, and I'm using my tape runner just to cover the whole front of the card, and then I can attach my die cut cover die and start popping all my pieces in place. Now the trick is, because I've left them in place here, I know they're facing the correct way, but that is one thing to be aware of. When you are doing the inlay portion, sometimes, you know, especially with the centers of letters and things, I find I can flip them around and not even be aware that I've done it. But the tape runner is a little bit forgiving, so you've got time to sort of wiggle it round, and you can always lift it up. Just don't leave it too long because it'll get stronger once the hole's been there for a while. So don't forget, this is part of a hop, so a release hop. So if you head to my blog in the link in the description below, you'll find out how you can win, and also the links to all the other people on the hop, and there's some amazing inspiration. Altenew just keep coming out with the most wonderful products. They're so hard to resist. So I don't. Okay, so I'm going to just pop my little bouquet, it's not even a bouquet, it's one flower, together now. I've used some of the tape runner behind the leaves, and then I just thought it'd be fun to add a little bit of something extra to the flower. So I've just grabbed one of my Copic multi-liners here and just drawing in my own sort of sketchy little stamens. If you weren't confident to do this, there are some of the stamp sets that actually have some center portions of the flower, but it wasn't difficult to do. I've popped that up with some foam dots, and then I have stamped out a little word sending from the stamp set as well. It's not from the Mega stamp set. The Mega one also has the word sending, but it's a really large version, and I just thought it'd be sweet to have like a little smaller version, so I chose this one instead. And I did that in some grey ink and just popping that up as well. I did add some clear sequins to the front of my card, and that's my finished card for today. Thanks for joining me. I've had heaps of fun. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Oh, don't forget to visit my blog and comment. You might win. Bye.